To all of my patrons, and particularly the most generous among you listed here, thank you for pledging to promote stronger Fate Grand Order content. The following video has been heavily condensed from a previously 3-hour-long discussion. If you wish to skip to a particular servant, feel free to use the corresponding timecode written in this video's description. Greetings, everyone! This is the voice of St. Courts, and with me I have two very special guests for a quote-unquote business casual discussion video for you today, as well put by...
It's me, your boy Lucky. For once, I'm in Voices Closet.
And...
That's right, everybody. I'm Omega. We're from StudiOmega.
Today, we are going to actually be talking about a topic that is expanded on from one of my patrons' requested topics. Yes, you know who you are, Corpse Gaming. You suggested that I would talk about Saber Lily for an extended period of time, and I realized to myself, I'm like, admittedly, Saber Lily on her own is a very difficult subject to make a profound scripted video about, because one is picking the right time, now that Saber Wars is over and won't be back for a very long time, and really, Saber Lily is under a lot of people's radars, and kind of for a good reason. So I figured, how can I expand on this? How can I make this more than just Saber Lily so that it's a bit more timeless? And I figured, why not talk about all the event servants up to a certain point in time? We will not be talking about every single event servant, but we will be talking about all of them up until the next Christmas event. Or sorry, the third Christmas event. I'm sorry. There's so many Christmas events up to this point in JP. But yes, the third Christmas event. I'm sorry. As you might have noticed already, this is going to be an unscripted session, but I have a good reason. And that is, I did make it halfway through a script, and I realized this is very long and a huge undertaking. I might miss something, which, especially if I'm trying to cut it for time, in that regard, at least 2 brains are better than 1. Why not 3 brains? There's really no one I trust more for a discussion video than the guys who have their own podcast, which is basically a discussion video every week. If you have not watched Let's Talk FGO, you should change that about your life and go listen to their archive. It is very entertaining. I listen every week myself. Heck, I've been on it, in case you don't know from the past 3 episodes of theirs that I've been on personally.
So you just said all that, and now I'm all embarrassed, and I'm all like, oh my god, Voice Senpai, you're too kind.
Well, I figured I would finally...
Voice is not our senpai. We were doing this for months before he broke onto the scene.
That is true. In fact, in like a month or 2 from the posting of this video, going to have their own anniversary, because they've been doing this for about a year now.
The joys of having to edit. So, on your point about this being a huge undertaking, I just want to say, I took some notes, which are now 11 pages long. I am basically all day for like 2 days straight.
Yes, Omega took all the notes. See, I thought I might be a little impressive with the amount of notes I took for what was going to be a scripted video. It turns out, like, I wasn't even sure what to expect, but I guess I should have expected the world from Omega, because this man is the master of taking notes.
Have notes. I took notes.
He literally took notes for 2.
He does that. Well, the main reason for that is the way we split up our personality is Omega's the brain, I'm the heart, so I go with a lot of emotion and on the spot while he thinks things through. So yeah, most often the case is he has to do notes for both of us, and I just springboard off whatever he comes up with. So this is usually how it is.
We've got a lot of servants to talk about today, so I don't think there's really much more introduction. Let's just get right into it. Caster, Elisabeth Bathory, Halloween version.
As I jotted down, Halloween Liz is really the first proper servant, because you only unlock your first copy after you complete the story of the event, and all the extra copies and all her ascension materials are in the event shop. So everything to getting her is inside the event.
Also, it's funny that being the first event servant, it is interesting that she is not a brand new servant. This is the beginning of what would be the meme of Liz and her many cosplays.
Well, it only makes sense she's an idol. Right. Idols gotta have costumes.
Already did do that with one of her ascension arts. she's got a very dramatic sprite switch.
Which is apparently very divisive among the NA server. We'll just call it her America outfit. I love it. But then again, I like Liz a lot, and there are just people who just don't like Liz in this world.
It's adorable.
Like, I'll admit, I wasn't a big fan of Liz until I got Extella, and you just get to see what kind of a precious creature she is.
Well, that's also the first time we really got to meet her in English, because unfortunately, also as of the posting of this video, Fate Extra CCC, which is her big debut, isn't out in English officially. So there's a lot of people missing out on what is quite a great sequel to Fate Extra.
When they have to release the CCC collab, gonna have to do something.
Right, but we'll also get to that, because that too features its own very striking event servant. So, Caster Liz. The problem with Caster Liz, and, like, I'm sure we could talk all day about Liz's cosplays, but, like, I really want to talk about the fact that it really shows that she is the first event servant, because her kit, from her skills to her deck to her Noble Phantom, to everything gameplay-wise about her, is admittedly very messy. Not bad, necessarily. She does feature a lot of things about her that are very good, in fact, very memorable. Let's put it this way, a lot of servants back then, some didn't even have 3 skills, and a lot of skills that characters had were very simple, maybe had like 1 effect, maybe had 2 effects. It was a much simpler time. Then Caster Liz comes out, and my god, her kit, you don't really think too much about specifics like, oh, does it work well together? Because she does so many different things with each of her skills. And so, of course, I remember playing with her and being like, wow, I want to use her all the time because she does a whole bunch of shit. And then I realize, oh wait, most of this is not really cohesive.
She's got a very confused design. So I thought it was this way. We're not quite in the realm of lore, i.e. why every Saber face ever is saddled with intuition, which is a whole other topic, probably when Saber Lily comes up. But all of her skills are thematic,
right,
purely mechanically coordinated. So she has 2 survival skills. She's got a Guts, which is from her normal Lancer version, has Self-Heal, which is not insignificant, and Star Gen per turn on that first one, flat Star creation on the third one, which means you can actually generate a lot of stars. Because it's Innocent Monster EX, she's better than Hans Caster, which means she has not bottom level star absorption, but cannot use the stars well herself if she is in a party with anybody. And then you've got that weird point of, okay, but if I'm at full health and I pop my healing, is that wasting my healing? Do I need that later? It's very confused. They're all good, very muddled. And of course, she has a Mana Burst variant, which is...
I was just about to say, yeah, her Mana Burst is probably the only one of her skills that is slightly cohesive, because it does inflict burn on all enemies for 10 turns. Which you might think, oh my god, 10 turns? That's amazing! But it only does 300 damage per turn.
3,000 total damage after 10 turns. However, it's also a Mana Burst, so it's an NP steroid, which goes right into the fact that she is, to date, the only SR caster with a Buster AoE NP.
She is a caster with a regular caster deck, so she has 3 arts cards, and on top of that, unfortunately, her NP hits like a wet noodle, which should be no surprise to anyone who's used regular Liz.
Yep.
She's good for clearing hands.
And she can stack, curse, and burn thanks to her Mana Burst, because obviously you're probably going to use her Mana Burst Pumpkin with her Noble Phantasm, but, I mean, what good are you really doing? I mean, for 3 turns you'll be doing like 800 damage, maybe a bit more if you manage to overcharge it, because I mean, you do have her at NP5. To be fair, back in that day, we were fighting much weaker enemies, so you could argue, back in the time period, because this is relevant to our discussion for today, back when she was released, chip damage on enemies that maybe only had like a few thousand health, kind of a big deal.
3,000 over 10 turns, that takes a long time to get going, but if you, assuming you can keep Caster Liz alive that long, which easily you could definitely put the hurt on some of those earlier enemies. The thing is, now she's just not as impressive. I will say, I'm kind of curious, because she was Halloween and then Nursery Rhyme debuted at Christmas, if Delightworks did not know the rough outline of... Because with the fact that Liz generates so many critical stars, you could say they go together.
In fact, that's another argument you could make, that having Caster Liz at the time was another godsend in a way, because think about it. AoE casters early game were limited to, especially high star ones, were limited to like Caster Gilderay and Caster Ku. And Caster Ku, you would get a free copy, but he was story locked, which means you had to play, roll in the story gacha, which no one does because there's usually always a rate up. And Caster Gilderay, you didn't get him for free. He was just in the story gacha. You would have to wait for a rate up for either of them, and they're 3 stars. They rarely get rate ups.
I still, to this day, do not own a Caster Gilderay.
Somehow I do, but that's only because I rolled for Jeanne.
Yeah, same.
So with that said, I think we should definitely move on to what would later be the prime example of what we'd come to expect from event servants. Archer, Oda Nobunaga.
Nobu!
Put lots of Nobu noises in here.
She is the first welfare servant that is genuinely good. Like, not just, oh, it's passable, like Caster Liz or something like that. It's like, no. Like, even to this day, even in JP's server, she is a good servant.
She's saying something, because obviously she's a 4-star archer, so her competition at the time was mostly Emiya, who everyone should know needed several strengthenings to get their skills fully fleshed out and up to par.
Right. Or you had Atalante, who was entirely quick-based and only had 2 skills.
She needed to get a 3rd skill, period.
Right.
Yeah, Nobu coming out the gate with a Buster AoE.
Oh, and let's talk about her skills. Okay, so she's got arguably the best skill that Ushi Wakamaru has. Group NP gain for 3 turns. She has a special attack buff for Divine Servants, which I'll get to that in a second as to why that's amazing. And, best of all, a skill that gives her 3 turns of critical star gather rate and increased critical strength. You definitely want to get her NP, which, although her arts cards have 4 hits, her NP gain is nothing spectacular, but the funniest thing is, what does their NP do? It has special attack also on its own. It is AoE towards anyone that has riding as a last skill, which includes many sabers. Also, going back to her special attack towards divine skill, her 2nd skill, a lot of sabers are divine as well. Nobu's not good just because she has good skills, or she actually has, like, decent power and stuff like that. No, she's great because she is designed to kill every saber. Like, no saber is safe against Nobu.
I'm just trying to think, like, what other archers did we have before we had Atalante, Emiya, Orion had come out, and then we had...
Lucky, I'm going to answer your question right now, because this is really interesting to me, looking at the list again while we're discussing this. Most archers up till this point, most archers period, for a while afterward, are single target. So Nobu is one of the very few AoE archers, unless you manage to pull Atalante, Emiya, or Gilgamesh. And then later Arjuna. But here's a trend, they're all golds you need to roll for.
Yeah. Also Tesla. Tesla came out shortly after too.
Oh,
but
again, he's another gold you need to roll for.
Yeah, he's a story locked 5-star.
Oh, even worse.
Yeah, so this is, again, one of those examples of a truly good free servant. It's filling a niche, a really big niche that you kind of need.
And that's actually kind of a trend I think that Delightworks was really trying to fill. You can notice it here, especially after Caster Liz and then Nobu straight. Like, literally, these events were back-to-back. They were trying to fill in niches for players who were either free-to-play or cheap-to-play. Or, you know, like, just anyone who maybe wasn't going to whale on a specific, even just a specific servant, where maybe they could only chip in a few courts. They were like, no, like, here, we're gonna help you out by giving you someone who fills a role that is otherwise really hard to get.
Also, I think with a lot of them, they're popular characters. Like, she's not quite an OC because obviously she's based on a historical character, but she's also a classic Fate gender flip and kind of a satire in a lot of ways of a lot of tropes that have come out of various Fate works, starting with the original Stay Night.
And to be fair, she was part of a comic, which was Koha Ace, that had come out before this.
And she was kind of a gag character to begin with. It's just that she's so likable that you really don't care.
And also, she has like that existing relationship with Okita, which comes out in the event. So she's kind of original, but kind of not. So that's kind of a weird way that works out. But she's definitely popular, and then you're like, oh, you can get it for free. Just play the event, and that keeps you invested. Or more likely, you're gonna spend save quartz later.
That's another trend that I'm sure we're going to remark on, especially with our next event servant. The trend seems to be flipping towards, okay, you recognize this servant, here's a different form of them.
Rider, Altria Pendragon, Santa Alter.
Ho ho ho.
I have
Oh,
mixed
boy.
feelings about Santa Alter, to be honest.
So do I.
I had some thoughts on Santa Alter.
Oh man,
Kinda weird.
Omega, you want to start us off?
Yeah, please go.
Okay, so she's a seasonal, quote-unquote, variant of a popular character. Not only is Saber Alter fairly popular out of game in various mediums, despite the fact that she was only in one route in FSM. But anyway, in the game, she's also very popular because technically she's easier to roll if you are rolling in Storylock or raid-ups than the 5-star version, the original Blue Saber. And then Santa Alter, the NP is about the only good thing she gets from the regular Altered Saber. Her quote-unquote hidden stats, stuff like NP gain and star generation and absorption, are about on par. Star weight is much higher because she's a writer. And then she loses about 1,000 attack and a few hundred HP. Very much a downgrade. Her mana burst is a literal rank down. And then she's got this weird thing where she's got Saint's Gift, which it heals and improves star drop to an ally, and that doesn't make sense for the way she's built at all.
So her entire design is she's too slow on her own, so she's gonna have the party generate what she can't. Because you take one look at her hit count, and you realize, oh, she's really bad at being a straight, self-sufficient rider. She's no Drake. She has
a writing A passive, and then she gets a whopping 1 quick card to use with it. She still has her same Saber deck. It's
right.
Just, it does not look good. And unfortunately, she settled with Intuition.
Oh, she has Intuition, but, I mean, and she will absorb them just because she's a rider, but, I mean...
She'll soak them up, but Intuition's not a very good skill, and... We might want to explain why that is, but in general, I think it's because it's a skill, so obviously there's quite a lot of cooldown involved, unless you invest a lot of resources, when there are way easier ways to generate critical stars.
Right.
And it's not steady,
right.
Or, God forbid, you rolled a Fragments of 2030, God forbid, Jack, who was in the gacha for this event,
right.
who can look at an enemy crossways and you've gained like 10 stars. So it really just, this is a problem I think we're going to see a lot with these seasonal variants of RD and FGO. Their skill sets seem very confused because Lightworks is not sure how they want to adapt their skill set, or some kind of like guidelines where they want to keep it closer to the original. I don't know, but
I'll admit, some of them get better. For now, I mean, yeah, that's really all she is. She's there for the cosplay, and you're not really supposed to think too hard about what she does. She's just a beat stick and wants critical stars from other people.
The way I look at her, she's basically a slightly superior Martha.
But see, at least Martha has
true.
a niche, like a clear niche of healing.
Yeah.
And Martha has some support rules, but if you're using Martha to, say, kill hands or doors, you're going to have a bad time of it because she also hits... Trask is stuffed with pillows under his unbreakable shell.
But at least the Tarask gives a defense down, whereas all this does is charge her NP gauge a little bit, which she needs because her NP gain is nothing stellar.
No. Like, honestly, like, even once I had Martha and Santa Alter, I was still running around with Marie.
My writer of choice has always been Medusa, who has 2 grails and will eventually get 2 more.
Oh, yeah, no. That's the funny thing is that at first I was thinking, well, okay, maybe she's there for people who didn't get Francis, but she's nowhere near as good as Francis, so I was thinking, well, then there's the problem that she has to compete then with the 3 stars and other 4 stars, and it's like, well, okay, you could argue she's better than Martha, but, or even like maybe Marie, because Marie's quick-based and stuff like that, but it's still, like, Medusa is really good and costs less. Heck, you have Edward Teach. I know no one wants to use him, but trust me, he is actually not bad.
I think the problem with Medusa at the time is Medusa at the time only had 2 skills. She didn't have her Bloodford Andromeda yet.
That's true. Whereas
Bloodford Andromeda.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
Whereas Santa Alter did at least have 3 skills. So I'll give you that.
Even if one of them is bad and the other one is just kind of weird.
Right. So basically you're entirely relying on the mana burst.
Yeah, but as I said, we play the English version, which has Clairvoyance EX, so a lot of people will see into the future, see what's coming, and be all like, nah, I'm going to get set up for what's coming down the line.
And just as a side note, because I'm pretty sure we've mentioned just about all there is about Santa Alter, but I cannot leave without mentioning this. I don't care for her animations for one very specific reason. Her animations are so slow. I don't care if she's carrying a sack around.
And they're very lazy.
I cannot stand how slow she is even at double speed. That is actually the reason I never leveled her. I am incredibly
Basically,
shallow
the short version
sometimes,
of a real badass Saber Alter variant. Just wait for the swimsuit version.
you have no idea of knowing, especially if you're a JP, that there would eventually be a really amazing Saber variant coming down the road, because then we have another Saber variant immediately after
Saber, Altria Pendragon, Lily.
With Saber Wars, I honestly wondered if the Lightworks looked at Saber Lily when they first gave her up for free and were like, shit, we didn't have a plan to get her up to MP5. What the fuck do we do? Because that is literally the entire setting for Saber Wars.
Oh, the Saber Lily is the poor girl. She is often regarded as one of the worst welfares because stats-wise, her stats are like a rare's.
Right, she is equivalent to a 3-star.
She's above the other 3-star Sabers, but still, most of that is probably just because she gets 10 more levels.
Right, because even then, I mean, if, say, you didn't want to use a Saber, there are actually better 3-stars in general.
So, she has a high cost for not a lot of skill reward. She is saddled, unfortunately, with the Saber standard kit. She has intuition, and then she has her Team NP game. Now, we've talked about how that's good, though, if I'm remembering rightly, I don't think Journey of the Flowers is as good.
Yes, Journey of the Flowers EX is actually half the percentage of Nobu's, which is the same skill. It's the same skill, but it's literally half as good.
How does that work, Lore?
I don't know, but that only further... in fact, in my notes, I even said, hey, at least she does have one good skill. I didn't look at the percentage, apparently, because I realized, oh, Nobu's still better. Let's keep that in mind. Up to this point, Nobu is still, by far, the best welfare servant.
Anyone who has a consistent design theme, which I wanted to mention this earlier, but we kind of moved past it, but we'll come back to it, I think, with our next event servant. But Nobu has a very focused skill design, which is also entirely based on her lore, and not sucky, because we compared her to Emiya. Emiya has a completely lore-compliant skill set, which does not work for him.
Yeah, I noticed a theme here, and that is focus is best. I mean, there are servants, like, not necessarily welfare servants, but later servants who would come along that are very focused that are not that great, but at least you know they can do the thing they do really well. She's got intuition again, that's weak sauce, especially because she's a Saber. She doesn't have the advantage of being a rider that at least Altria Santa Alter has. No, so, like, her critical stars are just gonna go all over the place. And again, it's not consistent.
Sabers are unfortunately the middle of the road of star weight.
Right.
They are smack in the middle. Archers and riders are higher than them. I think Lancers are about the same or higher. Assassins are about the same as Sabers. Casters are below them, and Berserkers are way at the bottom below everybody.
Right. And so, yeah, she also has the Team NP gain, which we mentioned is only half as good as Nobu's. And then, yeah, you mentioned she has Mana Burst, which again, a second time in a row, the only attack buff she can give herself.
It's the full A rank, not A- like Santa Alter. So, combined with the fact that she's an NP5, and she has a not insignificant self-heal, she's okay, she'll do the damage.
She's salvageable, at least.
And
right.
Yeah, the problem is because they gave you a free copy right at the game, and a lot of people started playing that. It's when you actually get her as an event server, it kind of feels like too little, too late. A lot of people have already moved on or try to get something better.
Right.
Just usually from the fact that she was stuck at MP1 for so long, a lot of people didn't want to invest the time into her.
Let's be real. Her competition with Gold Sabers was very controversial at launch. Saber Alter was a big winner, and then Nero, but both of those are story locked, so that means that people were probably more commonly rolling such favorite oddballs as Siegfried, aka Suanai.
Oh,
everybody just used Sasaki Kochiro instead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but by the time that the event rolled out, even if your luck was kind of decent, I mean, there was Mordred in the pool, there was Altera in the pool.
Both in English and in Japan, this was after the first paid gacha, so you definitely, if you had any money at all, you definitely had at least one 5-star.
Yeah.
And they very easily could have been one of the Sabers because there were several of them in that pool.
Yeah.
I have heard even some people say for the longest time that Saber Lily was their only AoE Saber. In fact, sometimes even their only gold Saber. So that is definitely, especially considering that she was available at launch, she is still fitting the role of a bit of a godsend at her time. Because she is a gold AoE Saber at least. With high
I'm not gonna lie. When I got her, trust me, I threw everything I had into getting her level, and I just stuck her in my support slot for Sabers. I didn't use her much personally. I don't think I got her to Bond 5 until Saber Wars.
And also, to be fair, I mean, if they're gonna make basically a baby servant, like a baby Pokemon, where it's just oh yeah, we purposefully made them not very good because they're supposed to be a weaker equivalent to the better one. I'm like, at least they made her as cute as possible so that you would actually feel bad for not leveling her.
Yeah, like, the Lily concept is interesting as a whole, I think. And
It's done way better later, though. But...
yeah, that's the thing. It's done way better. I kind of feel like the Lightworks was kind of like putting themselves out there. It was like, let's see how this does,
and then
you
realized
take
no
data
one
from.
used her.
Yeah,
And also, we should also point out that at least two of the major quote-unquote Lily servants I'm thinking of are technically upgrades because they are a higher rarity.
Right, because like
Like
Medea
4-star
Lily
and,
is like one of 2 healers in the game, and she does it very well. But I
Quote-unquote
do...
Medusa Lily is also is a 4-star over her.
Right.
Though also, funnily enough, so is Gorgon.
Right.
For regular Medusa, second on the middle point.
Both of them are technically improvements on Medusa, apparently. Again, I mentioned she's salvageable. I do have in my notes, I did say, okay, there are ways to make her good outside of her niche of being, hey, if you don't have a gold saber or an AoE saber or whatever, because let's be honest, there are no 2-star sabers or below at this point in time, like even at this point in time in JP, again, as of the posting of this video. So, I mean, you would have to roll for one of these guys, and I mean, just having one out of the gate, you're like, all right, you know, it's AoE and everything, and it's like, okay, so how can you make her stick around after that point? And I'm like, well, we've realized her AoE is like the thing that everybody would like about her. The fact that it has a big heal, the fact that it's not too weak. You could give her like Black Grail, which really works because one, you'll have her at MP5. So she's not going to necessarily slouch on the damage because the level of her NP determines her damage output. So she's going with like the full 600 to 700. And then she's going to heal whatever she loses from Black Rail right back. And then heal your entire party to boot, which after the rank up is 2000 HP. So, especially because she has, at the very least she does have that team NP gain, it's not impossible for her to gain her NP maybe like every 4 turns, which would be the 500 up until like 2000, which is the base before overcharge that she will gain after her rank up quest. So I'm like, okay, give her like Black Rail, or because she has intuition, you know, she wants to gain critical stars, and she doesn't have a bad star weight. She has, like we said, middle of the road star weight. So give her like Knight's Dignity, which will lower her defense, but again, she will heal herself and everybody else, so the defense down really isn't a detriment, especially since she does have high HP. She can take hits. You can beat this chick up, and she will still be standing. So, I mean... like, yeah, like, the defense lowering, the damage from CEs as a detriment, like, it's really not gonna hurt her as badly as other servants. So, I mean, big boosts on these CEs, that's what you should be going for. That's how she can stay in the game.
The only problem with that is, again, you come into the problem with, you know, your team comping costs, because if I remember correctly, Black Grail and Knight's Dignity are both 5-star
No,
CE.
Knight's Dignity is only 4-star.
It is 4? It's 4? It's only 4.
Right.
But still, like that's pretty hefty.
Right, but I mean, let's also be honest. When you start getting golds, most of your comps are filled with them, especially if you're playing for any prolonged period of time. Your personal master level is going to be going up. So, I mean, you're going to have plenty of AP. And if you like Saber Lily that much, you're probably going to make a team around her anyway.
Always remember, the true free servant, MASH, is always free.
That's true. And you're probably always going to put MASH on your team, so it's not like it's that big a deal.
Hi, MASH has possible synergy with somebody like Saber Lily. What could it mean?
Those defense ups.
Let's move on to that. Let's move on to entirely different.
Targetable. The NP gain. Oh my god, it's almost like they built Altria, Pendragon, Lily to be with MASH, both of whom you get at the beginning of the game. I literally just realized this, by the way.
Anyway.
Assassin, Ryougi Shiki.
The Saber Shiki is kind of not a Ryougi Shiki. She is also just Void, but that would be really hard to relate, jumping down the deep, dark lore hole that is Nasu and Kara no Kyokai.
Oh god.
Talk about
the
Shiki's
spiral
assassin instead. So, a lot like Nobu, she's another OC, and she's a real, genuine OC. This is a character from, like we said, Nasu's Kara no Kyokai light novel series.
Yeah, we were just dealing with cosplays before, but now, especially if you don't know about the other things in Type Moon beyond, well, just Fate, This is like, what the fuck is this? Kara no Kyokai? Like, what is it, like, just new? It's like, no, this is before Fate.
Yeah,
It's
like
a lot of his concepts.
yeah, like Omega and I both. I think we both like binged the entire Kara no Kyokai series before the event, just so we would not be left in the dark.
In fact, funny enough, Ryougi Shiki is often considered a servant killer, like one of the few humans who could ever kill a servant. So, hey, why not make her a servant too? Just like the rest of them.
She wears one outfit like 99% of the time anyway, so she's perfect for the single sprite look.
Oh god, we didn't even mention the fact that Altria, Pendragon, Lily is one of only like 2 event servants in the game who actually changes their outfit. But I do find it funny that like all the welfare servants beyond those 2 always comment on the fact that their outfit doesn't change, and especially Ryougi Shiki's are my favorite.
Yeah, she just says like, no, I'm not going to change. Fuck you.
Take off my jacket. This is special.
Combat boots, kimono, and a red jacket.
Assassin Shiki is not your waifu.
Right.
No.
She
Your wife
has a
gotta
boyfriend
avoid.
and is married.
They have a daughter,
In fact,
and honestly,
exactly. I was about to say, in the canon of Kara no Kyokai, that goes all the way in like 10 years into the future from when it ends. They have a kid.
Right.
yeah. Like,
Or
this is
Void
the
if you want to waifu her. Void is technically a different person.
I think it's actually pretty canon in the fanon that you don't waifu Shiki. That is like pure OTP.
But let's talk more about what Ryougi Shiki can do and why we'd want to waifu her. Well, she's finally a really good welfare servant.
A welfare cornerstone. Everybody was telling me before the event came out, you ask, what are must-play events? What are welfares you have to have? Shiki is always right at the top of the list, along with a couple jots down later, but we'll get to him in a second. I eventually did roll some, but for a long time, I didn't have a gold assassin. I was that guy.
I got Carmilla, which definitely feels a niche, but overall,
About Shiki. Shiki has hit counts.
Right.
yeah, that's the
They
thing.
exist, and she has multiple arts cards. Both Safeno and Carmilla are basically completely reliant on vampirism
Yeah.
because they have very good NP gain.
But they're all
Single
quick.
one hit arts card. Yes, exactly. They are all quick cards. They have one singular arts card that is one singular hit. So you get like 2%, and then you get some from quick, however that percentage actually works out.
Ryougi Shiki does not have that problem, like,
No.
at all. In fact, she's designed to unleash her NP as many times as possible.
Classic spam. Everybody who's played Medea knows this trick. With an Arts Noble Phantasm and multiple arts cards. You set up an NP arts chain, you let it rip.
And on
It has
top
an
of
arts
that,
boost.
as Omega had mentioned, she's got the hit counts. Her 2 quick cards have 4 hits, so she's star-genning, and she's gaining NP from her quick cards. And, if that wasn't enough, she has Yin Yang B, which, at the cost of a little bit of HP, increases her NP gauge.
She does have a little bit low of the baseline stats. Both her attack and her HP are kind of low for SR assassins.
Which, of course,
Be
is
hit,
probably because
might hurt.
she's focused on instant death.
And here's the thing, like, before I got Assassin Shiki, because I had Scathach at this time, who, has that instant death chance, and I almost never saw it in game. Assassin Shiki was the first servant I used who actually got instant death off
Right,
at
because
a reasonable rate, I would say.
her chances to inflict death are monstrous compared to like those 2, because
Right.
like she
Yes.
on just baseline level 1 without any overcharge, she has a 100% to inflict death. Now, granted, that's, of course, the enemies have their own death resist, but that is huge compared to, like, I think the 60% Scathach has, on top of the fact that she has Mystic Eyes of Death Perception, which is a great buff, because not only does it give her an arts card effectiveness increase that is actually pretty massive for 1 turn, along with Ignore Invincible, which means, yeah, anyone who's going to apply evade to themselves or invincibility or whatever, yeah, they can go rightfully screw themselves because they're going to have to face the increased chance of instant death by a base 80%.
Yeah.
No, hey, guess what? Instant death works when your character is built to do it. With NP5, high levels of overcharge, and the fact that she's got a skill to support it, you will actually see instant death. And well, instant death's kind of a meme on certain bosses, like, oh, you literally can't hit it on some of them. You can hit it, which gives her a dedicated niche as a single target arts, and she gets to try a lot.
I was going to say, and she can survive to do it multiple times because she has Mind's Eye Fake.
Yeah. Like her kit and her...
Crit plus bonus on top of the fact that she has a crit plus passive. She has independent action, which other SR assassins don't.
Right, along with presence concealment, so she is dropping lots of critical stars, and her star weight ain't even bad, so she will be getting them. She actually is, like Nobu, a complete package. She is designed to do a thing, and she does it very well. And it's not just the instant death. At baseline, it's NP spam, and it's really good NP spam.
It's completely thematic and lore compliant. She's got the mystic eyes. Okay, the mind's eye is a bit of a gimme, but that's a gimme anyway. That's about combat skill. Right. And then the yin-yang is part of the whole thing she's got going on Void, because Void has the opposite end of that skill, which is reduce your NP to gain HP.
Yeah. She's got the skills, she's got the ability, she's got the lore, but you know who else does? Several events later, it's time for another OC.
Caster, Irisviel von Einzbern, the Dress of Heaven.
The only other healer besides Media Lily in the entire game up to this point.
Dress of Heaven. If I remember my little trivia right, was supposed to be a servant with multiple arts and sprites, but then was compressed down to a single design to be a welfare.
That is true. I did read that as well.
Yep. Dialogue references it.
Yeah, because it's kind of funny that...
oh yeah, that's right. Her third ascension is like, oh my goodness, this is the Dress of Heaven! And it's like, but Irie, you've been wearing it the whole time!
And then you get to her fourth ascension, and it's all of a sudden underboobs?
Oh, suddenly boobs, yes.
So her final, not in her sprite, but in her final ascension art, she loses basically her sports bra.
Right.
It just vanishes, magically.
It is good Civ.
Oh, it's definitely good Civ, but man, it's unfortunate because you notice, like, Fire Irie, Wind Irie, all of her elemental Irie forms that split off from her in the narrative, they all get the underboob in their sprite. So I'm like, why does she keep the top in her own, like, why? If all the other sprites can have it, why can't she?
Honestly, you can decide if you want to edit out my Game Grumps level racism voice, but I assume that there's a Japanese businessman who's like, she could only have one sprite. That's it. That's it. He just sternly tells you, only one sprite.
Well, as I said, I'm pretty sure they're trying to keep in theme with all the other event servants.
There's a couple times where they wiggle that out.
But they are special occasions, like Saber Lily being available at the inception of the game rather than for an event.
It was very clearly, as we explained earlier, an entirely different design philosophy from how welfares turned out.
Yeah. But yeah,
video on white mages, so we probably don't want to tread over that too much. Just go and watch it, guys. It's very good.
Basically, in fact, I'll even put it in the suggestion box here if you want to learn more about what makes Irie good and or bad. But I'll just gloss over it. Basically, considering they decided to make her a dedicated healer, and Media Lily literally is, like, the Busto healer, like, they had to do something different, and it's like, well, how do we make her different? Well, at least she has an Apply Invincible skill, which is great. So she's all about survival. On top of that, she gives the party guts with her NP. So, I mean, she's definitely about keeping your guys alive rather than putting band-aids on them.
I do think her design suffers a little from the fact that you get her at NP5. So her NP5 only evens out to about as much healing as Lily does at NP1.
Right. But, to be fair, Media Lily is not only 4-star that you have to roll for, but she is story-locked.
And in the original Japanese, she only had one rate up. She was on the Scathach banner. We had a Okeanos 2 banner in English, so there was a slightly higher chance of rolling her, but still, it's...
Right, so if you want a dedicated healer, Irie's pretty much your go-to girl. And unfortunately, we still have yet to get a single rerun, even after all this time, so if you missed out on her, and you don't have Media Lily, well, I mean, again, going back to my video, I explained why that's not such a problem for FGO players in general. But if you really want a dedicated healer, you're kind of screwed if you missed that event.
So, this is, again, another one of those instances where they're using a welfare servant to literally put in that niche that some players might want.
Right. But, speaking of niche, after a few more months and a few more events, we finally get the ultimate quick servant.
Rider, Sakata Kintoki.
Quick to work.
Golden.
We make quick work. You want a quick to be a thing, it's a thing now.
Up to this point, Nobu and Ryougi Shiki, very good, very focused, very awesome. When I was doing my notes, I honestly forgot how not good, how great this man is.
So, to this day, the Rider Kintoki still has the top attack of all SR Riders, and he's within spitting distance of Queen Maeve, who is a single target buster rider, so you're using her to hit people.
Right, specific people.
Astonishing, right? Like, that means probably at Grails, we're talking, like, he could easily match her. Good hit counts, he has very good star stats, very good NP gen for most riders, and all of it it's a complete package, and he has the single target quick.
Oh, yes. Like,
I think NP5 means very high damage multipliers, like, you're going to be doing 2,000% damage. And also, it self-buffs quick. which is a ludicrous level of scaling.
Like, when I wrote the script for this, I literally made it a rundown. So I was just like, alright, number 1, let's just start with the deck. He's got quick, arts, buster. Alright, so that's a little unusual for a rider. It's more like a Lancer deck, but whatever. So he's got 4 hits on each of those quick cards. That's pretty good. So his star gen is actually pretty good. Also, please consider, he has an NP gain percentage of 1.15%. With 4 hits on quick cards, 2 of those quick cards, that's actually really strong. Now, not only does he have 5 hits on his extra attack, it gets better. He has 1,000 Mile Rush, which is amazing. In fact, it's actually ridiculous, because it gives quick card effectiveness to everyone in your party. But it's not just that. It is an increased critical star drop rate for an additional 3 turns on top of that. That is insane, because that's like quick on top of quick. It's not necessarily increasing your damage, but it's saying for the next 3 turns, you will be dropping so many stars, you will be getting a bigger buff than any group quick buff could ever do, because you'll be doing double damage, probably most of the time, as long as you have consistent decks among all your people. So, you're gonna be getting also a lot of NP gain on top of that. Even better, he has a straight increase to his NP gauge, where he just gains anywhere from 30 to 50% based on his skill level. Boom! So yeah, if you're like, his NP gain is pretty great, but I'm just not quite where I want to be. Don't matter, son, cause boop! I'm now where I want to be!
Or if you're trying to do high-speed boss kills, you can give him something like Halloween Princess or one of those other 50% starting and just be like, oh, I have my NP already.
Yeah, just first turn. Boom! Just rolling over guys at 1,000,000 RPM. Literally, he runs over people to kill them.
And also, talk about how amazing his motorcycle is.
Oh god, his motorcycle is golden.
Great. I also wrote this down as a trivia fact. I think it's correct. That it was just something his artist came up with and was just like, hey, I drew Kintoki like this, and they were like, we have to turn this into a servant. Yeah. And they did. And it's great. It's golden.
They've done that for a couple servants, because that's how Ishtar and Erisviel came about. So.
Right. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if that's why they made Kintoki Rider in the first place, because let's be honest, he is one of the very few male welfare servants. Honestly, you are rolling in a lot of free pussy.
That is true, actually, now that I think about it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, as Omega firmly pointed out, his NP, which you'll be using a lot, also increases his quick card effectiveness for 1 turn, and increases with overcharge. This man is insane. There is no stopping this man.
It does, it's like a couple of other ones where it does that first.
Yes.
So before his NP even goes off, it juices him up. And then it goes.
And it's for the entire turn, so if you do a quick Brave Chain, which you can do with this man, like, oh my, I am orgasming at this man. I don't care how gay that makes me. If you've watched my streams, you know I don't care. Oh god, I am orgasming all over the place and very quickly. All at once.
Hashtag Team Big Gay.
So, we talked about Santa Alter, comparing the 2 welfare writers to this point. We talked about how her skill set wasn't really great. She borrowed kind of the wrong things from her original version, and they were downgraded. Communication and natural body are straight from his Berserker version, but they work perfectly for him. They picked exactly the right skills to do, and then they replaced his monstrous strength, which is admittedly very good, but they replaced it with a better thing, as in welfare, because it gives him a much better niche for quick. He makes the quick memes.
Well, unfortunately, I can't fully speak because I said Onigashima isn't out yet as of this recording, so I haven't got hands-on and seen it for myself. But you look at the numbers and you're just all like, "What is this?
How could it go wrong?"
This is to go even further beyond.
In fact, even his hair suggests he has gone Super Saiyan 3. Like, this is Super Saiyan 3 Kintoki, which unfortunately makes the next welfare servant, who is also quick-based, look so sadly inferior.
Assassin. Scathach.
Just there for her body in her assassin form.
I was about to say that, but at least she's in a swimsuit.
Yeah, she's hot. No. She's definitely very sexy.
And this is my conclusion, but this makes a good opener as well. So basically, what you've got with Summer Scathach is that she's Scathach in a bikini, and you can't teach that.
Right. I was about to say, Scathach is limited, and she only gets a small handful of rate-ups, as you guys even said in your spotlight of her. So this is the "we're sorry" letter. We'll make her better by making her even more naked.
Never mind that she is a Celtic servant, and the bodysuit is a metaphor for the fact that really should be body paint.
But damn, does she look sexy in that swimsuit.
Also, another important thing is, at least from my understanding, a lot of these summer servants are more relaxed and personable. They can feel like they have less serious interactions with the player. So regular Scathach is very upfront. She says she's not your teacher, she's not your lover, she's not your mother. But with her summer version, they can kind of loosen up that character, and she can be a little less stoic to you. That's a cool bonus. I'm personally very excited for Summer Mordred after I had a lovely Valentine's exchange with regular Mordred, and she gave me her half-eaten candy bar out of her pocket.
Oh, but indirect kissu! That's definitely a tangent.
Yeah, I'll avoid it. Otherwise, I'm gonna start talking about Tamamo and Atalanta. And
oh God, yeah. We're not talking. We're not talking about Valentine's right now.
We're talking about Summer Scathach and how we return to the incredibly jumbled skill sets.
Yeah, how can we not talk about something else when we're talking about Scathach's skill set? It's just so lame. Unlike regular Scathach.
She has a taunt as an assassin. What is that there for?
And it implies increased critical strength. Why? See, I like to think of it as she's literally taunting the enemy with her body.
Like beach flower, beach disaster, etc. skills are supposed to be, by the way, this servant is super fucking hot, and literally everyone will look at them. You will cause a beach disaster. Episode disaster.
Nonetheless, in Scathach's case, it's funny to think about, but it's really lame for applications.
What would be her targeted skill, her great claim to fame, she has a targeted quick buff, and instead now it's a heal and damage reduction?
Oh, no, she still has a quick buff, it just can't target anyone, just herself.
Right, it's just for her. It's just really weird. It's Caster Liz problem, and also Saint's Altar with Saint's Gift. It's just, why is this on my AoE assassin?
By the way, she is at least another AoE assassin in case you didn't get Shutendoji and don't like Phantom of the Opera. I can't blame you. Problem, again, her chance to inflict death is even worse than Lancer Scathach's, which is starting at like 60%. Nah. This is starting at 30%.
Oh, jeez.
So remember how we said that Scathach regular has medium chance of death and Shiki has high chance? Scathach says low chance of instant death.
She might as well have never chance of instant death.
And that you're probably using her to clear waves for farming in some way? Okay, sure, you get a lucky, oh, that was nice, I got an instant death instead of having to beat this guy up some more. That was fun. That's it. That's all it's good for. It's not good for anything else.
Maybe. And this is a low maybe because her presence concealment is E rank, which means you're only getting 2% drop rate. She does have 3 hits on every type of card, and she does have 3 quick cards, and she has 5 hits on her extra attack. So you can argue, she's not bad at crit star gen, at least.
Yeah, but there's so many people who are better.
And her NP gain is not great, though, so at least she keeps that part of Scathach.
Her presence concealment is low. She just has the one passive skill, and it is awful. It is an E rank. It is the lowest tier of passive skills.
Well, honestly, it's probably because they're keeping in line with that theme. Look at this body. You cannot hide it.
You can. Moving on to a character who's not only worth talking about, but is just going to make me orgasm again against my very will. Everybody's favorite Choco Lolly lesbian.
Archer, Chloe von Einzbern.
Or you might know her as Kuro, who ties with Kintoki, no joke, as one of the best, if not the best, welfare servant in the game.
I gotta go call the police.
Put your hands up, this is the police.
Mm-hmm.
You're all under arrest because Kuro will save you, because holy shit, she does work.
Cyranopedia. They have these meme names for all the servant underneath the alias tab. If you float over it, it gives a little nickname. Even they agree, better Emiya than the real Emiya. Like, she is...
Honestly, that makes sense, because technically Kuro's character is... Not only does she play the Emiya-ish role to Ilia, but also she is an Ilia who is also fused with an Emiya, kind of.
So it's basically an Emiya who has better magic circuits, which kind of important, because that's one of the things that like kind of boned actual Emiya, is his magic was kind of weak.
Well, she does have the magic circuits of an Einzbern, so I mean, it makes sense.
Let's not dive too deep into the lore of...
Well, no,
Prisma
we
Ilia.
should, because I'm pretty sure that's exactly why she's way better than Emiya, because...
Actually, that makes a good sense.
Yeah.
Because let's just start out with her hit count. She has 6 hits on her arts cards! Holy shit!
Because her normal NP gain, it looks a little low, but then you look at the hit counts. You look at how many arts cards she has, and you go, oh!
0.38% is not bad for 6 hits, because if you compare her to Tamamo, who does actually have pretty alright NP gain, Tamamo I think has like 0.2 something %, or like low 0.3, so she is doing better than Tamamo is.
Also, hey, she has an NP battery skill, her terrifying kiss demon.
Mochi Kisatsu desu ka?
Mostly kisses other elementary school students.
Mana transfers.
But But the best
I know
part
why,
is,
element.
see, Kiss Demon doesn't just increase her NP gauge. Oh, no. It also increases her critical star drop rate for 3 turns, which she's also very good at, because she has 3 hits on each of her quick cards, which she has 2 of, because she is not Buster related at all. And even then,
And 2
you
quick
might
cards.
think, oh, well, that's a little superfluous. No, because we're just getting started. Because she has Projection B, which increases all of her card effectiveness up to 35% for 1 turn. Now, it's just 1 turn, but that's all you need. Because on top of that, she has Mind's Eye Fake, which increases her critical strength for 3 turns. So, big damage. On top of the fact that she has Independent Action B, which increases her critical strength even more, and a single target Arts NP that applies Sure Hit.
She does big crits and big NPs, and basically, you can feel free to alternate that. You can do them all at once, whatever. Just, hey, you want single target NP spam? She's got it. You want to do crits? She's got it. R.A.P. Emiya. The poor boy never stood a chance. Not even
when
after
he
2
gets
skills
rank
strengthened.
ups, he doesn't stand a chance.
He gets his own projection, and he gets Hawkeye. No, it's donezo. The poor boy is saddled because he has an AoE Buster NP with his deck.
If she had territory creation, any level, she would be the best. She would be the best with territory creation.
To note, with both Kintoki Writer and with Chloe, they don't have those... I'm pretty sure Kintoki doesn't have the writing passive.
No, he only has Divinity C.
He doesn't have it, and she doesn't have territory creation, so they're just writing on static. Their arts are good, and then also they have buffs.
But they're so good.
And quite frankly, when we talk about niches, she doesn't have a lot of competition.
Because guess what her only competition is? Squirtoria. Altria, Pendragon, Archer, who is her summer uniform. Fuck, and she's broken.
Wow.
You've got a limited niche servant who's super broken, and then a free one. And also, technically, you forgot one thing, which is the beautiful Orion.
Well, yes, but to be fair, she is male-centric. I mean, literally,
And-
one of her skills, all it does is increase her attack towards males.
Yeah. But all in all, above all, as long as you're there in time, Kuro or Chloe, whichever you prefer, is free.
Right, but she is unfortunately, like Irisviel, she has yet, as of the time of this recording, to have a rerun. So, you
Rerun of the
better
banner, but
fucking
not
get
rerun of
Chloe.
it.
Holy shit.
They're rerunning a lot of things, though, recently, so JP players, keep your fingers crossed.
Thinking of Garden of Order, they finally
Oh,
rerun
that's
that.
true.
So now
Yeah,
it's
they
just-
finally did rerun Garden of Order. It is possible. Now we know crossover anime special events and stuff like that. Or light novel, whatever. You know, basically, other universe stuff. It is possible to get a rerun. So, you could say, well, if I miss her this time, I can just wait 2 years to get her again.
Do you guys like playing the long game?
I mean, we play the long game all the time. We're playing the long game right now. This is already several months away. But, hey, let's play the long game more. What's a holiday that's in the future?
Oh, well, that would be Halloween, where we finally get our first rerun event. So you do get another chance immediately at Caster Liz. And then her second cosplay.
Saber, Elisabeth Bathory, Brave version.
She's in a Dragon Quest-styled armored bikini. And quite frankly, the event's got a lot more in common with references to retro video games than Halloween itself.
I just want to point out, she also unfortunately has, a bit of a hard time actually fitting into parties, because there's a giant elephant in the room I think we need to address. And it's not the one in my pants. Let's talk about Legendary Crimson Hero EX.
Oh, joy. You want to start there. Okay. All right, so, let's have more than one Noble Phantasm. That's cool, right? Like Achilles, all of his skills are Noble Phantasms. I don't know if Legend of the Crimson Heroine's actually a Noble Phantasm, but sure works like one, because it takes 100% of your gauge, and it's entirely RNG-based. What the fuck is happening here?
So you have to ask yourself, looking at this skill, are any of the things I can possibly get from this worth a whole NP? Now let's run through them, shall we? One possible random effect out of 5, increase your own Buster card effectiveness for 3 turns. Or, attach Invincible for 1 turn to all allies. Hey, that's pretty good. That's kind of like Jeanne, but without the healing effect and the extra boosts and stuff. Whatever. But it's cool. Restore HP to all allies. Wow, I hope your guys are actually a bit winded, because otherwise that's completely useless. Increase the attack of all allies for 1 turn. Wow, I hope you got a really good, attack setup ready for this turn. Or just flat out gain critical stars. Now, you do gain a lot of critical stars, up to 30 to 50 based on the level of the skill, but you're not guaranteed to get it, and if you already have a ton of critical stars, like say you have Jack on your team, and you already have like 40 to 50 critical stars, you literally wasted the skill, and your NP gauge.
So it's a whole lot of randomness for not a lot of payoff.
Right. They're all basically much weaker NPs that you could get. It sucks.
Her other skills are also kind of like, okay, so you give her a big boost on, I think it's NP gain. You're probably looking at it, voice, so I don't know.
You straight up increase your NP gain, not the gauge, but your gain.
And also, it gives her invincible, which is good because she has low HP, but it's only for 1 turn. And mana burst
including the NP gain. The NP gain is also only 1 turn, which is unfortunate.
Yes, exactly. And one is a mana burst. Now it's courage, which is an NP steroid, and then a death buff, also 1 turn.
I guess because she's courageous now, so she has like an adrenaline rush and not much can hurt her. Lore! But it's weird. Gameplay-wise, it's weird.
We can admit, because she's basically a fusion of the two, Brave Liz has better stats than both her Lancer self and her Caster self. Yeah, her NP gain is drastically lower as a Saber. It's even kind of bad for a Saber, and she has a whopping 2 arts cards to work with this, which do not compensate at all. So, hey, you know that NP gauge you really need to do that skill thing?
Boy, I hope you make the most of that 1-turn increase NP gain.
What you're probably going to do is you're probably going to use her regular NP, which is a single target with damage over time tacked on. So basically it's just something Liz does only single target now.
I get the feeling that Brave Liz is kind of the same vein as Assassin Scathach. It's like, okay, we're just going to throw some stuff at a dartboard, give her that, and then we're going to make her really eye-catching for people who are into that sort of thing.
But it's worse because they couldn't decide on what they wanted to give her from the dartboard, so they literally threw it all in one skill.
The darts, they gave her the board.
Yeah, just take the board.
They gave her the board.
You throw your own darts, Liz. Poor Liz is just standing there and like, hands or nails, I can't even throw darts.
I need an art of Liz with just her nails through the dartboard looking really fucking confused.
I'm honestly surprised this art doesn't exist. And if it does, I need it in my life. So if anyone knows or is willing to draw something similar right off the bat after hearing this and has gotten this far in the video, please. Please, I don't care if your artistry is bad. I want to see this so bad.
Yeah, single target Buster Sabers are actually pretty rare, so if you just ignore all the chaff, she's technically more generalist than Rama. Mana Burst, and she'll do a thing. And I guess technically with her first skill, she can kind of, make herself survivable into that and help her NP gain a little. It's not great, but it's definitely a niche. It's just big hands up. Like, What is going on with this girl? What is the design?
I can only imagine the looks on pure NA players who who don't even know about her in the Japanese, and they see her, and it's not even listed what her skill does as you're leveling her, so you're like, oh man, I see that icon for special damage or whatever it is. I can't wait to see what this is. Legendary Crimson Hero EX? It's gotta be great. So you're going through, first you get Invincible and you're like, that's a really good skill. Then you get the Mana Burst and you're like, alright, that's a really good skill because it's a steroid. Oh man, I cannot wait to see what her third skill is because usually the third skill is really exciting for a lot of servants. Oh boy, is it exciting! It's literally a roulette wheel!
We hurt you like gotchas, so we put the gotcha out of your gotcha so you can gotcha while you gotcha.
She may be a free servant, but she's not free of the gotcha! Why aren't you laughing?
I'm sorry, I just died a little inside.
Oh, yeah, me too. But you know what will help with that?
Lancer, Jeanne d'Arc, Santa Alter Lily.
Boy, I have no doubt they had fun with that name.
How these seasonal servants are often like, oh, they're alternates. Some of them are a little gaggy. Like, Santa Alter was very jokey with how she's the evil King Arthur, but now she wants to be Santa Claus for some reason. You get that fun juxtaposition. And, oh my god.
They literally took the Jeanne Alter, who was turned into a joke by the Da Vinci event, took another joke servant, who is the sorta kinda antithesis of Christmas, and literally mashed them together into the ultimate joke servant, and yet, not only is she absolutely adorable, and honestly one of the most greatest super lollies to ever exist in this universe, but she is arguably better than her predecessor. At least not Jeanne Alter, but definitely Altria, Pendragon, Santa Alter.
Yeah, before we get into, the brass tacks and whatnot, I honestly think that Santa Alter Lily came to existence because Jeanne Alter did make an appearance in the original Christmas event.
But they outright make a joke. They're like, well, I guess in order to be the next Santa, you'll just have to turn into a lolly or something like that. They make some joke, and that's a year ahead of time they make that joke.
So I can understand why people say, it's kind of thrown together, but you also got to remember, Jeanne Alter was, stupid popular. Remember, originally she was just going to be kind of a one and done deal, but then they stuck around, and so the Lightworks were probably like, we could totally bank on this. And guess what? They totally banked on this.
They made something even better.
reference that. So, Jeanne Alter is the Jeanne created by Gilda Reyes wishing on the Holy Grail for a Witch of Vengeance. And then that Jeanne drank Gilgamesh the King of Babylon's youth potion and turned into a tiny child to become Santa Claus.
And calls you Mr. Reindeer. My god. It's beautiful.
Adorable. Have we mentioned she's fucking adorable?
This is going to be the most controversial thing I say. She may not be better than Jeanne Alter in terms of skill, but I, personally, much prefer her over Jeanne Alter in terms of personality. She's... Oh my god!
It's like, you just want to pat her head and feed her cookies and be like, yes, heal me.
Back when Shelter's banner hit, it was like, okay, I got the vanilla Jeanne. Not chocolate, but it was like new Jeanne or something like that. I also need to get the Christmas version, which I think the joke was that she's diet. Yeah, Jeanne diet.
I'm honestly, like, I have, like, so much fun, like, family shipping the whole Jeanne d'Arc family. Jeanne and Jeanne Alter are, like, twins, and then Lily is their little sister. Like, I've seen so much art of that, I'm like, yes, this heals me. More Jeanne d'Arc family.
She teams up surprisingly well with the other Chaldea nursery kids.
And even the other Jeannes.
Rhyme and Jack, who are often seen together in, like, they team up well, oddly enough. Let's talk about why they team up well. We've gushed on her for quite a while. Let's talk about what actually makes her tick as a servant. I might not think she's special, because there have been quite a few SR Lancers, especially AoE Busters, who existed at this point. But quite a few of them are story locks. If you're talking about raw servant comparisons, you're probably going to compare her a lot to Lancer Alter. So it's very hard to get those extra copies compared to the free copies you will get of... we can just call her Sal for short, if we have to.
Sally! I'm gonna call her fucking Sally. Yes!
Hit counts aren't super exciting. Her deck is pretty normal for a Lancer. But let's get into skills. So she has Saint's Gift, but it meshes way better with her character. Much more impressive and useful on her. And then she's got a basic NP self-charge, which increases her not small debuff resist also, because she's got a very high rank of magic resistance to start. And then you pop her NP charging skill, she gets quite a bit more, which everybody loves. Everybody loves when the enemy tries to throw that debuff down on you and you're like, no effect. Then, guess what? She has one of Jeanne's key skills, which gives her big buster boost and a little pinch of invincible on top of a very tiny HP loss.
This is the part where I definitely have to compare her to Santa Alter before her, because yes, Santa Alter, the OG mama, who is actually like 15 years old, yes, her healing is better, but we already discussed about how that's kind of off for her. But not only does she have a way better skill than Intuition with Self-Reform, which, yeah, increases her debuff resist even more, and gives her an NP gauge boost. But on top of that, her basically Mana Burst, which is Ephemeral Dream EX straight from Jeanne Alter, is way better. Yes, it does have one more turn of cooldown, but it has 10% more of an increase to Buster Boost than Mana Burst A- does. And this applies Invincible.
She's harder to hurt, and she juices up way better. G. Willikers, why is that heal more relevant to her kit? NP has very, very interesting effects.
A lot of effects.
She does team buffs.
Yes, she increases the attack of all allies for one turn, increases the HP recovery amount of all allies for one turn, and she decreases the debuff resist of all enemies, along with dealing heavy damage to all enemies. So, basically, she is Deceptive Support.
She's got an NP steroid, and she's got that big buster buff, and she's got a buster AoE. Oh, she's a wave clear. No. She goes first. This is like using Altera or St. Martha, who have those big defense downs on the front of their buster AoEs. You throw them in first, boost up your allies, and you let them come in. Liz and Lancer Alter have NP interludes, so God forbid if you actually get them to a high NP level, which is not unexpected with Lancer Liz because she is a launch servant. She is possible to be rolled with a tutorial. They don't necessarily contradict each other because Santa Alter Lily can go first, soften up the enemy, and that leads perfectly into a lot of those other big buster sweep NPs from other Lancers because they often have additional effects which proc on your debuffs. And then for the extra damage on the attack, hey, Liz has sadistic charisma or will at this point in time, so that meshes well with another, female servant. So she doesn't necessarily stand out super well mechanically on her own, but because she is a support, other servants in great ways.
We were mentioning how she's really good with Jack and Nursery Rhyme. Well, guess what? Nursery Rhyme gets her debuffs on the enemy even easier, and Jack gets to hit even harder. In fact, Nursery Rhyme also gets to hit even harder. Basically, everybody gets the candy. Heck, she works well with both Jeanne, because Jeanne will heal your party even better with her NP, on top of Jeanne d'Arc Alter doing more damage. So, she helps a lot of people. Really nice when she goes first.
Yeah, so it's unusual. Like, we talked a lot of shit about these seasonal variant servants, because, let's be real, very strange priorities in their design sometimes. Here is the possibly gaggiest of gag characters. Maybe. There's a couple down the line who'll give her a run for her money, but is arguably like the biggest in-joke possible among servants.
And yet she's surprisingly one of the better ones.
I just want to point out that in both your notes voice and Omega's notes, you both have at the bottom the most adorable.
Oh yes, because we cannot deny. We both agree, right, Omega?
It's, if nothing else, she's really adorable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The most adorable.
Do you need any other reason?
Oh, but much like Lucky, in joke here, I think we are forgetting someone, though, who is also very adorable. And I believe she comes with a very simple name in contrast.
Berserker. Chacha.
Well, actually, I was actually been doing a lot of research into.
Oh my God, Lucky's learning.
Well, no, like I study things here and there, and Chacha's backstory really puts her at odds at how she kind of is in FGO.
Especially if even in her in-game profile and her skill descriptions are like super hardcore, serious lore stuff.
Because, unfortunately, I haven't played with Chacha, and I'm not gonna lie, it's not that I forgot like who Chacha is. It's just she kind of flies under my radar, and she did so until I started learning more about Oda Nobunaga and basically his betrayal of the Azai clan. Because Chacha is the daughter of Nobunaga's sister Oichi, who married into the Azai clan so they can have an alliance, but the Azai clan betrayed Nobunaga over another alliance they had, and it's really convoluted, but Chacha was adopted by Nobunaga's right-hand man, and then eventually married that man. So it's just like, Chacha, you got some shit going on, girl.
In fact,
How can you
let's
laugh?
not forget who that man was.
Totoyomi Hideyoshi. I can't remember what they called him before, but he was the monkey.
The monkey man.
The monkey
a lot
man.
of references also made in Chacha's description to him being, quote-unquote, the son, because, hey, very important figure in Japanese history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you see Chacha, and she's just this cute little lolly who's a berserker, nonetheless, and you're just like, girl, why is your life so serious? I am, like, so sad for you. Let me pet your head and feed you cookies.
Yeah, as you can tell, she is a great contrast to Jeanne d'Arc, Alter, Santa, Lily. I'm sure I didn't even get the order of that correct. Who is a complete joke character. Now, we get to feel sorry for lollies.
Yeah. Chacha comes across as a comical character. She's, got a higher pitched voice. She has even her final ascension art is like her surrounded by, is it bread or is it gold? Is anybody sure?
Just to add to her adorability, she even has a 1% chance, which scared so many people when they found that out, because they were thinking, oh my god, am I gonna lose out on an SSR somehow if I see her different skill animation? Yes, she has another skill animation, because her normal skill animation is where she goes, "Blah, ha, 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 ha." Every so often, every once in a great while, she will lean back too much and fall down.
And then you get to her skills, which is stuff like Golden Rule, Calamity, and
Innocent Monster, Flame.
Is it Curse of Toyotomi or something like that?
Right.
Or Curse of the Rising Sun, I think. Her skills are super metal because, there's a lot going on in her backstory, which you should just read about.
Yeah.
She literally has a katana made of fire that she plunges into the earth to summon skeletons that stab you to death before she becomes a flaming phoenix. Literally incinerates
By the way,
you.
those skeletons, those are the vengeful Toyotomi dead who are pissed off because they blame Chacha as a curse, basically. They thought that it was her fault that their family fell and their castle was on fire, which Chacha was in, which is why that's her noble phantasm. It's almost Nobu levels of metalness, with Nobu's, I also died in a burning temple and I summoned thousands of rifles and burning skeletons.
It's almost like they're related. Cursed child.
Weird niche, though, as a servant. She's the high HP, low attack berserker, which is kind of counterintuitive to their design, but hey, somebody has to be it.
It's probably to balance out the fact that every one of her skills takes turns to do. Like her NP gauge, it increases a bit per turn. Or Innocent Monster, which of course gains critical stars a bit per turn. She even has a stackable decreased defense for another 5 turns. You can actually recycle this skill over and over and over again, non-stop. It's amazing.
Very sizable defense down when it gets rolling.
The only problem, though, is it's a berserker, so keeping her out,
She's high HP.
Yeah. That's exactly why she has the high HP. And to be
AoE
fair,
Buster Berserkers are also kind of uncommon. Chacha's the only SR one that I found. So her primary competition is launch generation rares and then Raiko, who is a limited SR again. So hey, if you got lucky, that's good for you.
And if you want the numbers
Also,
for that defense down, if you get it to level 10, it immediately decreases the defense for 5 turns to 10%, and then an additional 10% every turn. So you're starting with 20, and then 30, it gets up to
50%
defense down at level 10. And that sticks even if she dies,
real nasty debuff.
with a real good cooldown.
Sadly, though, because she has very low madness enhancement and no real damage buffs, if you're trying to just do damage, you're run for your money out of, say, Darius 3 or Kyuhime. Servants rarely exist in a vacuum, so clearly you're going to put 2 more people on a team with her, so...
That's very true. But, you know who also is incredibly niche, but surprisingly very good?
Moon Cancer. BB.
I'm pretty sure, like, every time Albert makes an appearance, he always gets someone who asks about CCC.
Everybody, it's time for BB Channel.
BB Channel! My favorite channel. I always clock in.
Her OC type, she's, brought over for a collab event, which means, of course, she probably has a good design. Hey, you want to talk about laser focus? BB, the only Moon Cancer, will never not have a job to kill Avengers.
Yes.
Okay, how many people, myself included, were very frustrated when you saw that ruler boss, that ruler icon come up when you're doing like an event or something, and you're like, oh god, Jeanne's gonna show up as a boss, or later Amakusa, and you're like, ah man, that's really rough. And then Dante's and then John Alter comes out, oh, well, if you manage to roll them, and there's some more later who might be slightly more common, you're like, oh, okay, that's not a problem, there's a person in my kit for this. Hey, maybe you got really lucky and you got Anger Menu. BB's basically like that for Avengers. When you see an Avenger icon, you're like, I guess I'll just hope they don't beat me up too bad and try and just push damage through because they take neutral damage.
Maybe I should bring up Berserker. Oh wait, they'll probably die in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, no, they'll just get smashed because even if they're flawed, most Avengers are still offense-focused.
I'm sure you definitely experienced that during the Da Vinci event when Jeanne Alter was a boss.
God.
She would literally one-shot Berserkers.
Jeanne Alter has like an extra 100k HP over regular Jeanne. Oh yeah, no. You know what solves that? Nurse BB is here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's here with
cure
her
that
single
problem
target
right
NP. Emo is not allowed here. She is going to push the happiness into you.
What else it does? Team NP charge. So she fits perfectly into all your favorite stall teams. Yeah, and she's got some stalling and recovery abilities, but also she's got a crazy good self-modification if you wanted to use her for crits. If you wanted to do damage, boy howdy can she. She has very good supportive skills too.
Her stun is amazing, because number one, it removes invincible. Without question, just boop! Anything that makes it so I can't do damage to you, gone. And if you get to level 10, it does a 100% chance of stun.
Construction A for that extra 10% debuff success.
And on top of that, your debuffs? Not a problem. 10 crowns. Holy Jesus. Target any of your
We'll talk about it
allies,
much
including
quicker with your
herself.
MP.
Remove all debuffs. Restore HP. And then apply Nullify debuff. 1 time for 3 turns. You didn't even know she was the kind of servant you wanted until, unless you were a huge Sakura fag like me.
My final notes in my notes about BB is BB.
I mean, she's literally evil Sakura, who is not dark Sakura, she's just Okay, fate's confusing. Point is, she's Sakura.
Who is free, unlike the other 2 Sakuras who were in this event.
Although, to be fair, you do have to beat one of the hardest events in the game in order to get her. Kiara's no joke.
Yeah, don't worry everyone, you'll have plenty of time to prepare and be ready for this nonsense.
Right.
We'll get her just like we got Rashomon.
Yeah, you ever wanted to know why they never gave out a free servant during a challenge event? Ha! It's because they were only biding their time.
They'll rerun CCC before that, and they'll do quality of life updates, so it'll be easier for us.
Yay!
A lot else to say about BB other than, hey, guess what? She is a quintessential event servant and a good 4-star in general, because she's the only Moon Cancer.
And she has massive HP stat!
I thought you were going to say massive something else.
Well, I don't think that needs to be said, good sir.
Right, she has an SSR's worth of HP.
She's worth the trouble.
Especially like we said, she's the only Moon Cancer to date. She may be the only Moon Cancer ever. I think there are probably a couple of ways they could force that justification onto other servants.
Quick tangent, I keep hoping that they get a corroded Liz from Extella.
Well, unfortunately, they did say, well, you know what? I'll save that for a very special welfare servant. But first, we have a servant who takes no effort to get whatsoever. The only 1-star in the game for a very, very long time. Barely qualifies as an event servant, but must be counted nonetheless because everyone loves her.
Berserker. Paul Bunyan.
So, like, Paul Bunyan, when I first saw her, kind of enraged me because, like, I grew up on American folktales, and Paul Bunyan was one of my favorite. So, like, I wasn't concerned about, like, her being, lolly, looking kind of goofy. I was more upset about what they make her wear and the fact that they made her wield chainsaws. I'm like, what?
But
then I saw the second
lumberjack.
Yeah, I know. I've made my peace with it, especially when I saw like the second Ascension sprite where she's actually in flame. I'm like, all right, I will deal with this. But when I first heard about Paul Bunyan, Omega will tell you, I was so upset.
Honestly, I feel you. I think we've all been there with at least one servant.
Yeah, there's always somebody who makes you feel a little bad. I meant to mention Caesar earlier. I feel a little bad that he is unfortunately relegated to being a joke character by being the Fat Saber. Julius Caesar's really cool. They're not going to come out with another one probably because he's just a loaded 3-star. By the way, I also want to point out in my notes, at the bottom I had insert Lucky rambling about cultural appropriation here.
Yeah, well, that's why I decided to get it out of the way, so Omega wouldn't have to call
The Japanese know nothing of our American heritage.
What is that even?
Just wait till we get Gingerbit Pecos Bill.
See, this is the Americans finally getting to feel what all the other world cultures feel when they look at Fate and they're like, what? You made so-and-so a woman?
For most part, like, I'm okay with it.
Legends and histories that drift over time, and basically going a long diatribe about comparative mythology. Yeah, no, it's no big deal, guys.
But you know what made me totally comfortable with it, though? The funniest thing is, the memes. The memes made me totally okay with Paul Bunyan being a girl.
But how much of a meme Paul Bunyan is? Okay, so she's like a triple gag. I talked about this earlier, being possibly the most self-referential gag character.
So it's a joke within a joke within a joke that is turned into yet another joke. She is quadruple layer joke. I'm not even kidding. Because she is the joke, then she's in a joke manga, in a joke event, but she's also made into another joke because she's 1 star.
Can we get some Inception tuba blowing here, please?
Whoa!
Another meme. Her Noble Phantasm is also a joke because fastest NP in the game, which is a great life hack for daily farming. And just, it's the fastest animation.
I don't think I've actually seen her MP, now that I think about it.
Oh yeah, where she literally just steps on the enemies.
The official English translation of Learning with Manga is still coming out, constantly laments that there's no NP skip button. So naturally, Paul Bunyan, who is one of her original creations, I think she got the same craft by dipping udon noodles in the Holy Grail, filled with all the world's evil. So one of her created servants naturally has a pseudo-skip NP.
Funny enough, the lumberjack is the best farming servant. I mean, not quite a farmer, but close enough, I guess.
Like trees sometimes.
Yeah.
There are tree farms.
I mean, she's a bronze berserker. I don't know what you're expecting. Her stats aren't super great or anything.
But everyone grails her anyway.
She does have very interesting team support skills with great names.
Oh, yes. So we have, for her Buster Card effectiveness for everyone, Happy Companions A. For her Restore HP to all allies, which is also pretty good, Bean Soup Lake. And
by the way, all of these are taken from actual Paul Bunyan anecdotes.
And her universal decreased defense for all enemies, which also, for some reason, decreases their HP recovery amount specifically. So, okay, whatever. My favorite, Popcorn Snowstorm.
Everybody laughed. And they laughed and they laughed. And there was much rejoicing.
And we were all happy companions.
We happy companions, eh?
Yes, we are.
Rider, Ishtar.
Ishtar's a servant, who is also a Rin. She's a limited servant, and she appears at a very trying time in the banners, up close with some big sellers like, I don't know, Merlin. It's a real rough period if you're rolling those banners. But hey, much like Scathach, here's your free Ishtar, in summer. Vaguely summer themed. Not quite full-blown swimsuit because she's wearing the fluffy pink jacket, but she's got a swimsuit bottom in there somewhere.
Hey, the fluffy pink jacket is awesome. I will agree with that.
Also, yes, no, it's very good. It's a very dapper jacket, as befits a goddess of beauty. So, her attack and HP are just under Kintoki Riders. So,
yeah,
it's not as good
really
as her.
Fucking powerful, actually.
But, unfortunately, she exchanges having 2 3-hit arts cards for a pretty hefty drop in her NP gain compared to the other 2 event riders, which is saying something about Santa Alter. Probably needs a little juice on that NP. Her first skill kind of makes up for it because, hey, Team Buster Quick Buff.
Quick cards, Buster cards, increase NP gain for everyone. Yeah, I'm all about that.
Go team.
This is a evade and a crit plus buff, which is something Kintoki doesn't really do himself. Very short cooldown. If I remember it rightly, it's 4 turns at max level.
You are correct.
That's a 4-turn turnaround on an evade and a crit plus buff. Oh boy.
And let's not forget Summer Breaker A, which applies Invincible.
And also gives her a bunch of strong buffs. Now, admittedly, they're kind of rando. The NP gain and the crit strength are probably best for her, also the crit star drop, but she's pretty good at that anyway. You want to talk about passive skills, she has a big improvement over Kintoki and Santa Ultra in that regard. The EX writing.
And Independent Action A.
The only real drawback to her is that her NP niche is basically the same as Kintoki, which means that as a fellow event servant, we waxed about how good Kintoki's NP is. She is less overcharge reliant. Her damage multiple for quick beforehand is slightly higher at 100%, but not as high at 500%, so she's not as swingy.
And she's AoE, not single target. So at least she's not necessarily directly competing with Kintoki.
Quite frankly, she has a tween quick and buster and NP gain buff. They do good work together. She can juice him up, she can help him get his NP, and also, you know, worst comes to worst, she can utilize those critical stars herself, and she can tank, which is something Kintoki doesn't really do. He's got a little bit of self-heal on one skill, but that's about it.
There is only, I think, one thing holding her back from being truly great. See, the problem is she's a quick-based servant with only 2 hits on each quick card, but she has like a 5-hit buster card, and I'm like, if only you took it and then flipped it upside down to like 5 hits on her quick card and 2 on her buster, she would be insane. She would actually be just as great as Chloe and Kintoki.
But she's not. So instead, I think the result is that Summer Ishtar is much more balanced out than the other 2 event writers.
Yes.
So it makes her very good. She's not going to be quite as stellar as writer Kintoki, but how can you be?
Golden.
Also, end of notes sections, my final bullet point is a Rin.
That is very true.
He's a Rin, because
Very important.
there are several Rins in the game. Funny how that works.
But no Rin is a bad Rin, so... We have our final Liz Sameface, who is more than just a cosplay. She finally learned about, what's it called? Was it Warbler? She has evolved to
AlterEgo, Mk.II, and Mk.II Mk.II.
Arguably borrows more from kaiju movies and mecha stories than Halloween.
I like how every Halloween event we get just further and further from actual Halloween. Because I remember for this event, there was a bunch of sci-fi and mecha tropes everywhere.
There's still a lot of calls about cheesy sci-fi movies and classic sci-fi anime, I think.
Like, I'm sorry, Martha in that exosuit?
Do recall that the brand new servant premiering for this event was, of course, Osakabe Hime, aka the masterful shut-in otaku of
the super nerd!
Halloween, like, what crazy-ass costume can we put Liz in this time?
Japanese don't celebrate Halloween like we do. First of all, there's definitely no spiritual or religious aspect to it, I'm pretty sure. They have other festivals for that, like Setsubo. Yep. They probably just get the costume thing, so it's a cosplay thing. But that makes sense. But arguably, the Mecha Ellies, while they're based on Liz, as alter egos, they're technically separate selves. They're different from her. They're modeled after her, but they're not quite her, and they have their own personality and their own weirdness, and oh my god, like, okay, I can't say they're the most ridiculous, because we've got one more to talk about after this.
A lot of interesting things to note about Mecha Eli-chan. For example, you mentioned like her personality is very different. There is actually a theme that Liz is going through in FGO. Can you figure it out? I did, and it's that Liz has a hard time admitting that she is actually a good person, because she lives on the morality of blue and orange, or yellow and bacon. But we all kind of feel, she's actually a good person at heart. Lo and behold...
And arguably, that's a big deal of her character arcs when she appears in things like CCC and Extella, is her dealing with this whole, am I a good person or a bad person? Am I my own person, or do I have to be, you know, Elisabeth Bathory, the little girl who becomes Carmilla?
They outright introduced this in Orleans, where she's like, I'm not gonna be like you! Well, lo and behold, Brave Liz is noted as chaotic good. And then, moving on, we come full circle with Mecha Eli-chan. She finally becomes lawful good. She believes in justice.
He is a hero of peace.
A defender of the castle! I'm entirely sure that they released Mecha Eli-chan simply as your free alter ego, because they made this new class, and they're like, well, shoot, all the alter egos are just part of a gacha, and therefore, if you didn't get them through the gacha, no one's gonna be able to play with this class. Especially since the CCC event is full of Sakura faces, and if you don't like Sakura, well, you're probably not gonna roll that hard. So here you go!
Me as a standout among this team, if you're concerned about the preservation of you and the entire Earth, you might not want to roll favorite naughty nun Kiara either. There is a legitimate, that's not my taste, to her character. on top of being limited, they could be seen as divisive. Also, especially considering the whole deal with both Passion Lip and Meltloaf's design is that they are freakishly out there in some ways. That is part of their design aspect as alter egos.
If you don't like fan service that much, you're probably not gonna like those two. So we gave you the exact opposite in a robot.
His NP is literally called
Breast Zero Elisabeth.
Yes, that's what her NP is called.
And before comments are filled with "flat is justice."
Well, it literally is justice. Thank you for mentioning that one. We have come full circle with the joke, everyone. We have come full circle. Flat is indeed actual justice.
Also, hey, guess what? Immediately after the Halloween event, the Salem chapter dropped, which was full of a new class called Foreigner, who are, guess what, weak to alter egos.
It's almost like they planned it that way!
What?
Kick the shit out of cosmic horrors with your super robot dragon girl.
Boy, don't I feel silly for playing this game.
But yeah, so Mecha Eli-chan, though, both of them, they have NP charge in exchange for a slight loss of HP, but that's pretty good because they have only one quick and one arts and all buster cards. Then guess what? You get a big NP crit damage increase as her third skill. And all it costs you is just, oh, well, you lost your defensive upgrades. Hey, guess what? If you don't have defensive buffs up when you pop the skill, it don't matter. And this leads into a big single target buster NP, which is unique to her so far, I believe, which then weakens up enemy defense for follow-up hits. She fits right into the quote-unquote buster crit meta.
Her star weight's not even that bad, so...
Real note, I think, about alter egos is that most of them have a lot of passive skills, which are pretty good, whereas Mecha Eli-chans only have a couple, and they're pretty normal.
I forget, wasn't the event that you can only get one or the other?
Yes, you can only pick one or the other, but in case you're wondering if there's actually a difference between them, just the paint job or lack thereof and their personality. Yeah. That's it.
I'm pretty sure the completionists, though, are like having an aneurysm, though.
Right.
Hey,
yes.
Don't worry. If you're being completionist, you'll probably play it when they do the rerun, and hopefully you can pick the other one. But if you miss one run of it, well...
And then the big question will be, do they count as two servants or the same servant?
And mechanically, they're identical.
Maybe one's a costume? Maybe you get the other one as a costume. I don't fucking know. The Lightworks, what you doing? What's your game plan?
Maybe because they have a set mechanical usefulness, they are a offense-focused free alter ego. Is why the team went so out there with the design, because let's be real. Like, Fate's already pretty weird. This is really weird. This is, like, weird for Fate. The Altera the Sun in a second. She's weird, but theoretically, she makes sense in the context of an FGO event.
This is why you don't give Liz grails. Weird shit just happens. She keeps trying to outdo herself.
People keep stepping on her house, though, so she has no choice.
All right, buddy, let's go into our last one, who also went above and beyond expectations in weird ways.
Oh my god, now Lucky's doing the segues. No, there's something definitely weird here.
I have to do at least one.
And yes, she will be our final servant we are talking about for this recording. This will be the last servant that will actually be within spitting distance. It's time to enter the brisk cold, because, man, oh boy, I'm heating up from, this servant in particular.
Archer, Altera the Sun.
Get it? 'Cause Santa...
This was a fucking left field for me when I saw this.
Yeah, no, nobody was expecting this shit.
No. There were theories online suggesting the big bad of each arc ended up becoming a Santa servant. So Santa Alter is Saber Alter, who was the big bad of Fuyuki. Then Orleans, it was Jeanne Alter, so you get Jeanne d'Arc Alter Santa Lily. And then we have Altera, who ended up being the final boss of Septum.
If we get Santa Jason, there will be blood in the streets.
No, we're gonna get Santa Medea.
Best Christmas ever.
That'll solve the problem that she's a story lock 4-star. So
MP will be Christmas Breaker.
Christmas Breaker. Oh!
Let's talk about the Santa. About how Christmas is a gag level event now. She is a space sheep anti-cell writing alien Santa Attila the Hun, and she shoots beams.
Here's the most interesting thing I found about this Altera is that they pulled directly from the Extella Altera.
Remember, FGO came out before Extella. I don't think it was supposed to because Altera was supposed to tie into it, but the mobile game ended up coming out first, so the two Alteras are kind of different, and they're even. In story, they're actually kind of different. The same but not. This is much more drawing on her lore, where she is an alien titan sent to destroy all civilization. That she's writing, talk about a wolf in sheep's clothing, that's a Velber anti-cell program. That is a virus they use to kill the moon cell. But it's all a joke because they're sheep.
So she's actually the darkest event servant for Santa.
Another fun comedic aspect. I don't remember his name, but supposedly because this Christmas is Babylonia themed, because we run a really tie-in, Erisviel go really hard. Altera is also playing the role of, I don't remember his name, but it starts with a D, but it's a shepherd god, the husband or consort of Ishtar. So hey, everybody, start your Christmas Altera Ishtar shipping art now.
I'm surprised I haven't seen any.
I actually haven't seen any either. Wow.
I'm sure most people missed that because they prefer to ship Altera with Helena.
Really?
Yeah, because of one joke, I think, in like learning with manga.
Oh.
What Santa Altera does, she's got a pretty good HP value. It's the same as Nobu, and then she's sandwiched between Kuro and Nobu in terms of attack. So she's pretty good. She's got a smidge higher NP Gen and star weight than those guys. Not much, but a little bit. And then she's got very excellent passive skills. It's not independent action, but it's the same effect.
Civilization Corrosion EX.
Right, because literally all civilization she touches dies. Oh, and remember that EX writing we talked about? She's got that.
And she's quick-based. Yay!
She's got perfectly rounded hit counts. 3 on everything. She's got 2 quick, 2 arts, and a buster. So then she has her Candy Star Photon Ray. Oh my god. Voice, show that clip.
Candy Star Photon Ray!
It's the perfect screensaver, really.
Right, it's a Macross Missile Massacre that explodes into a trigger star.
And let us not forget, Noto Mamiko, the VA, is making sheep noises. I'm not gonna lie, like, before I played Extella, I really wasn't that sold on Altera, but after I did play it and I went on things like the Great Titan Expedition, I am just like, I just love Altera. Like, I'm super sad I haven't rolled her yet. But guess what? Give me a couple years. I get my free one.
So let's talk about her skill kit, which is actually also pretty good. So she's got her own version of the gift, but it increases your NP gauge instead, 10 to 20%. Not super high, but hey, it's targetable. And then it also has that 30% crit star drop rate increase for 3 turns. The Rainbow Syrup, which is another targetable, it increases one ally's NP strength and critical strength. The Embroiling of Glittering Stars EX, which has a pretty good variety. So you get 3 whole turns of Ignore Invincible. Critical star gather rate up, 600% at level 10, by the way. So she will get those critical stars. And then 3 turns of an it's reasonable defense debuff, 30% at maximum. There are some better, but it's still pretty good. Unfortunately, you stun yourself for 1 turn.
Which always
3
seems
turns.
to come with the skills that give you tons of stuff.
She's got a single target quick NP, which means crazy high damage multipliers. Oh, and everybody's favorite overcharge effect on a Noble Phantasm, just gain critical stars. You love it with Drake, you love it with everybody who's just got it.
Starts
20
at
at
20.
100%, keeping in mind it's a multi-hit quick Noble Phantasm, and she has the ability to boost her critical star drop rate and her critical strength if she wants it. Very self-sufficient. And that quick Brave Chain, by the way, that's 30 stars to start, not even counting the hits. Focus design. She's real good.
All around, she's just a really good note to end on, to be honest. I expected something lackluster, but no. If anything, at least, we're proving that the event servants are getting better more consistently. If you go back, the last kind of meh, or even, like, you could argue bad welfare servant up to this point was Brave Liz.
It's just she's not necessarily as much of a complete package as a lot of the later event servants are. They are definitely for players who are playing. It is an encouragement for you to play at slightly above a casual level, not just doing your dailies or doing some story quests when you feel like, oh, a new story chapter dropped, I'll try it out, maybe I'll get some servants. No, this is to encourage you to actually play regularly and put some effort into it, because guess what? If you put effort into it, maybe you want a little more back, and maybe you're gonna pull out your wallet, pull out your credit card, and buy a little sync course.
Because I had a theory that maybe they started out making the welfare servants, at the very least, hit or miss, because they either didn't want players who missed out on an event to feel bad about not getting a servant, like, oh, well, they're just kind of fluff, so you don't really need them that much, or like maybe not as good as servants you should be spending money for. But that's
when the game started, they don't know that reruns are going to be a thing in the future, so obviously they have no idea if this is going to come back.
But with reruns being a thing, it's kind of interesting to note that, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of welfare servants just end up being consistently really good. And I think they realize that not only do people like the welfare servants, it doesn't detract from the gotchas, so they can make them as good as they want.
Arguably, they make a good counterpoint to keep banners from being too crowded, because usually you have like one big SSR who's new, maybe 2 sometimes for some banners, like especially story banners tend to have a few which are spread out over a couple because they're big story releases, but with events you're usually talking like one, like, Halloween where it started, you had Tao. She wasn't limited, still, that's a big draw. That is a very popular character who was not in at launch, so that's going to be a big spend. So you don't really want to distract people from that. Everybody always has a hard time when you get a spook. Nobu's a counterpoint to Okita, who is another, super popular character from her own own series and has this back and forth with Nobu, and then they can make kind of jokes, oh, Nobu's lost a star somewhere. So it allows you to give the player something for participating in the event, and usually popular characters or variants on them, like we said. Distract, though, from the fact that you have a big limited servant. I also had a very cynical thought while writing this, that events are usually made easier to clear if you roll on the gacha first to get some of those CEs and maybe some of the bonus servants. So even if you're going for a free servant, if you're a person who spends money on this game, maybe you'll throw some quartz at a rate up just to make the event easier so you can get the quote-unquote free servant.
Actually, I can totally believe that, because I remember, like, people saying before we learned that we were getting some of those quality of life updates for Journey to the West, some people were saying, yeah, you kind of need to roll on the gacha to make the event not as grindy, and I still kind of believe that being the case, except obviously Journey to the West doesn't have a welfare servant, but even so, you can see that in some banners.
A lot of these are also temporary, which I think is a fun way to let you try before you buy, as it were.
The welfare ends up becoming more like a reward rather than like, oh, it's just a free little neat thing I get, like some bubble. You know, I'm just like, this is cool, but I don't really need it. It's like, no, it's more like, I earned this.
That quartz and tickets they just throw at you. You know, you're covered in apples. It's not like that. This is you had to do pretty good in some of these events. Like Nobu, you had to climb the damage ladder to get the first permanent copy, and then to get all of them, you had to put some time in on that event. It encourages and rewards investment, and like we said before, investment means you're more likely to spend on the game, or at the very least talk about the game, maybe buy some merch. You know, it's all part of the business atmosphere without being really skeezy.
That's also why we were mentioning with some of the earlier servants especially, they filled a niche that wasn't really available that much at the time unless you rolled on the gacha.
Saber Lily was, okay, are you gonna be the guy who rolls a story-locked 4-star or rolls a rare 5-star? No? Okay, well, we gave you a free one. Do you actually use Mephistopheles, or are you rolling on the story gacha to get Castor Kuz? No?
Right.
That's how they start, and then from there I think they just evolve into just a lot of these designs, we can just do them better. We can just do a good servant who is also free, and it hasn't hurt how much money we make, and hasn't hurt how much people play the game. Know that you're guaranteed, if you start playing at certain points, you're guaranteed a 4-star servant who is, at the very least, usually serviceable to play the game even as a newcoming player.
Right.
Like, we're about to do a rerun for Halloween and then there'll be a new one. Oh, you're going to get like 2 free servants if you can actually swing it.
But that's another thing, is that a lot of the welfares are also incredibly likable, even though they're really wacky, but that I think only lends to their likability. They're just so fun.
Well, the other half of that is usually when you have the welfare servant, they're also central to the event, so the event is built around them and their story, so you get a lot more interaction with them than you do with a lot of other servants.
Like, I think that's a major plus to, like, say, Santa Alter. Okay, so mechanically she's not impressive, but you still have to do the whole Santa event where you're stuck with her being her as Santa, which is great.
It was a fun ride, and so, you kind of get endeared to them just because you went on an adventure of some sort with them.
The Darius age 3 for the Gilgamesh letter, and then you go there and he's just talking about how great it'll be. Santa Alter just turns to you and say, oh, it's terrible, this house is empty. And your only option is like, yes, let's get out of here.
Final thoughts. This is for the people in the audience who are just like, well, you talked about a lot of good event servants, but man, I want to know who the best are, or who the worst are. Like, who should I care about and who shouldn't I care about? So, like, who would you say were some of the best event servants, and who you think are some that you just get them if you like them, I guess. Just scoff at them.
Me, personally, I would go with Nobu and Shiki, just because, like, when I got them, oh my god, they were super useful. I'm only going for the ones that I have, and so I would say that Santa Alter and Elisabeth, Halloween, they're kind of they have their use if you're kind of desperate, I guess. Irie is like in between those two sections for me, because I can't remember if I mentioned this, but during Rashomon, Irie was my lifesaver. Like, honestly, with her invincible, just a quick heal, and if I got her MP enough that I could do a team heal with guts, oh man, that's how, like, She has her uses, but, she's not, like, we're not going to go into the whole white mages, but
she's
again,
not OP.
She's not OP, but she definitely will save your buns. I love Lily. She has a special place in my heart, but I just don't use her anymore. Like, next time Saber War comes out, I'll bring her out of the closet and dust her off and give her a cookie, but
she really is the definition of just outdated event servants, which there are luckily very few of, but she's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Ones that I think are really good, that just personally fit my playstyle the best. I'm going to say Kuro, just because I love arts. I love Emiya. I like NPs a lot. I always love to spam super attacks in games, so then it's really got to be Summer Ishtar, because she's Summer Ishtar, and then just Altera, because not only is she Altera, she's really good, and I like that style of her. Just she seems like she's fun to use and also good to use. Servants you can take a pass on. I'm going to have to generally agree with Lucky. Those early couple, especially the seasonal ones, and honestly, so was probably Brave Liz if you're like me and also like Lucky and you've rolled Rama already. Might not need her niche, so it's kind of eh.
So, I mean, obviously, like, I'm a Sakura fag. Of course I'm gonna say BB. Who do you think I am? Like, who the fuck do you think I am? I'm gonna say BB is not just because she can beat up Jeanne Alter real good, but also she's just really good as support and stall, and she has, like, one of the best NPs in the game, in terms of my opinion. But also, I would say, the usuals that can't be ignored at all. Chloe, Sakata Kintoki, Nobu, of course, Jeanne d'Arc, Alter Santa Lily. And I can't say no to Mecha Eli-chan. It's so ridiculous. I love it. And of course, the most lackluster to me, the ones that I really would be like, I'm not sure I would ever use this ever. As good as I actually started making her sound towards the end, definitely Altria, Pendragon, Lily. You have to use extreme measures to make her good. Elisabeth Brave, she's good up until that third skill, which I don't want to say, oh, you should never use. It's like, no, because here's the thing, I'm done with having servants that I can't use their third skill. I want everyone to have 3 skills, so no thank you, I'm not going through that again. And, of course, Assassin Scathach. She's so boring, except for how hot she is. Literally, one of her skills exemplifies just how hot she is by taunting you with how hot she is. But beyond that...
She's literally a trophy waifu.
But yes, she is the definition of trophy waifu, absolutely. So, that's really who I would say stay away from unless you really just want them as a character. I can't blame you for that. We've been at this 3 hours, at least. I think we're all tired and worn out, never want to talk about event servants again, because we've covered all of them. 2 years worth. Jesus Christ, how horrifying.
FGO, the really fucking long game.
Yeah, you gotta play that long game if you want your waifu in the way you want them.
But as I said, I plan on playing FGO for the next couple years. I mean, we have a whole show that hinges on me keep playing it.
Please go over to StudiOmega's channel if you liked their commentary on event servants and more. You'll find a lot more over at their channel, including Let's Plays, spotlights on limited servants, even more than that. So, go give them a try. I swear, you probably won't be disappointed if you even like FGO.
You'd be surprised how many people tell us they listen to our stuff to get them through the day.
Anyway, guys, though, it's been a real joy to have you, and I don't mind shilling for you.
Feel free to hit us up in our comments. We love reading those. We get regular posts from people like Voice. He comments on our videos. We also have a community Discord. In touch with us. And honestly, our community is not super large. I mean, we got a few hundred subs. Like to pay attention to feedback. So it's very possible that if you want us to talk about specific topics, you can easily get in touch with us. And if we like something, we'll talk about it. We always love to fill our show notes with extra content we can talk about.
Yeah, if you're a content creator on YouTube and you need someone to gab your gums for a bit, feel free. Contact us.
Okie dokie, gentlemen. So with the shilling out of the way, I think we're going to call it a night.
Oh, my God!